Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news, and we've got quite a packed show for you today. We'll be talking about Martinez, Bellingham, Grealish, and a shock Premier League start, and also let's start off with also about Paul Pogba something as well. But just before I start, please do download the One Football app. The link is in the video description. It's free, it's on Apple and it's on Android, and we will be taking a story from there in a couple of minutes time that's very interesting. You can get all your Manchester United news there by following Manchester United and your Premier League news as well. Free on the app. Please do download it. But let's fly in we'll start off with Jadon Sancho. This seems to be the story that everybody's interested in, and I want to give a different angle on it before we talk about some of the latest transfer news on it. I do feel that the Jadon Sancho deal, when you look at it and take a step back, and we're all entitled to our opinion, I feel that this deal comes down to the Glazers now. I don't think it comes down to Sancho, who I think wants the move. I don't think it comes down to Solskjaer, who clearly wants the move. And I don't think it comes down to Dortmund, who will sell him if they get the right price. It comes down to Manchester United Football Club and whether they're going to spend the money required, having what's happened in the wider world. And that to me is the important thing. Now, Fabrizio Romano said last night that Manchester United have been dealing with the agent of Sancho, but there's no official bid gone into Borussia Dortmund at the moment, and Dortmund wants 110 million euros, which is around 100 million pounds. So not really breaking news, as I said last night. We know these things. We know there's been conversations with Sancho and his agent and Manchester United. This has been going on for a while. We had the news yesterday of an unofficial deal. We know that Dortmund will not sell on the cheap. They said that on Sunday. We're not going to be a bargain tour no matter what's going on in the world. And we also know that, obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is looking for a right-sided player, and there are there are not many players better than Jadon Sancho for that. So it's a tick and a tick. And I do feel that although Chelsea are holding out a hope that they can get Sancho, and I'm not saying that they won't, Manchester United are in the driving seat and Manchester United can control this deal. The question's going to be, will Manchester United go ahead with this, or will they retract and say, look, we're a business about money, we can't be spending money when we're losing money? And that's my concern about the deal with Sancho now. I think in any other time, if we hadn't had this virus pandemic, which we've got and nobody wants to have, he would be a Manchester United player in the summer. I've got no question about that. There is a question mark now, and it does come down to the appetite of Manchester United. But look, they could swallow this up. £100 million, you could pay it over 3 years. As soon as everything goes back to normal, which it will do at some point, all this money starts pouring in, shirt sales, I just think United, even if it's the only signing we make in the summer, and look, we want to make more, but that one signing could make such a big difference. I really do think that I accept the transfer window in the summer is going to be very, very difficult and challenging for everybody. And maybe you only do make one signing, but if you're not going to make one signing, I hope it is that signing, because you add Sancho into that team, you retain Pogba, you've already got Bruno, you've got Rashford, you've got Martial, you maybe keep Agallo, you've got the depth in the midfield, you've got options at the back. I think it would definitely does need improvement, the squad still. But the glaring issue is the right-hand side. And if you've got a player who can play that position superbly well, there's still going to be issues in the team, but it puts us in a stronger position for next season. And everyone else is going to suffer as well. So I think it's worth the expense on Sancho. So let's see what happens with that. Interestingly, and this feeds into it quite nicely, shock, I suppose, news coming out about the Premier League and a potential return date. Now, it's coming from the Daily Mail, so I wouldn't butter your toast on it, but It's interesting because what they're saying is that the Premier League are hatching a plan, and they're all meeting up on Friday to bring Premier League football back in May so that they can finish the season by the end of June and allow next season to start at the normal time. Now, the reason for this is because if the Premier League don't finish the league, apparently they will lose £750 million from the TV broadcasters. And if they don't start next season on time, they'll lose £3 billion. So you can see where the priority is if they've got to make a choice. And as I understand this, and I don't know what your thoughts are, it's not about finishing the league in September and starting the next one in October. This is about penalties you pay if you don't finish the league within a certain amount of time and start the next league in a certain amount of time. And I would say this is something to do with they've got to finish the Premier League by the end of July, and then they've got to start the new one by the end of August, which is a £750 million loss if they don't finish the league, and a £3 billion loss if they don't start the next league. So lots of money involved in it. A lot of you will be saying, well, lives matter more than money, but ultimately I'm afraid to say we live in a world where money is very important to a lot of people, and there's a lot of people out of jobs at the moment. There's a lot of people lost their jobs. So this will be important. Safety will be paramount. Of course it will. I think we're only ever talking about games behind closed doors if we do get it back this summer anyway. But this is going to be interesting. There will be pressure both ways. I said last night Dortmund have started training, even though they're doing it in pairs. They're doing that, and Germany are gripped by this as much as the UK. So interesting few weeks ahead. I personally think the one that we spoke about yesterday, that maybe July to finish the season in a 3 or 4 week gap, would be beneficial for everybody, but we'll just have to wait and see how it's going. I mean, day to day these things are changing. Also, interesting story on the OneFootball app. Let me just get this right actually. Link in the video description. Make sure you download it. Get off. Interesting story about Paul Pogba, basically saying that Pogba's transfer value could plummet by 28%. Transfer market could be dramatically affected if this season has to be cancelled due to the virus. That's according to a research conducted by the CIES Football Observatory, who estimate that player transfer values in Europe's top 5 leagues are likely to plummet by as much as 28%. You can read that full story on the OneFootball app. It's very interesting. The research that's been done about that is free on Apple and Android. Link in the video description. Do download it and get the latest news. But this is what I was talking about a few days ago. The transfer market will drop. The price of transfers will drop because people are losing money. But this is where people like Dortmund, it's going to be an individual choice. Nobody's going to get all the clubs together and say, hey everybody, you know Pogba was worth 150 million a month ago, he's now worth 80 million. You know Sancho was worth 100 million 2 months ago, he's now worth 60 million. That's not how it's going to work, because Dortmund are going to say, no, we still want 100 million. So basically, when Dortmund want 100 million pounds for Sancho, because that's what he was worth 2 months ago, if we pay that in the summer, we're really paying the equivalent of what would be 150 million based on the collapse of the market. And that's the thing where clubs, but it's going to be a seller's market and a buyer's market. Some clubs will need to sell, so they'll have to sell cheaper. Some clubs don't need to sell, so they will sell higher. And that's the market that we're going to get. So that is interesting. I don't think Pogba's going. I really don't think Pogba's going. But we'll wait and see on that one. Some other news. Grealish, of course, we spoke about Grealish yesterday. We had the video with Robbie, which I thought was really interesting to get his opinion on it, as well as mine and yours. We spoke about him a bit last night. We had some call-ins talking about it. And I think with the apology of Grealish, it's sort of it's calmed the waters a little bit, but there's still some uncertainty. And there's some uncertainty around Manchester United. There's some outlets this morning saying that Manchester United are still full steam ahead to signing Grealish. They're not deterred by this news. There's other stories saying that there's no way Grealish will be coming to United now because he doesn't fit what Solskjaer's looking for in relation to personality. Solskjaer cannot take a risk on a player that's going to come to United and potentially get worse at a bigger club with bigger temptation. So it's interesting with that. I think that there's still a story to be told with Grealish. The bottom line is that, I mean, I live quite locally to where all this has happened. He's apologised for going out on Saturday night. What about smashing up your car, potentially drink driving? Those things are still to be established. He may well get away with that. He may well not have done that. He went to ground quite quickly afterwards, and I doubt they got to do a breath test to him in time, because that's why people go to ground after those things. So, and go to ground, I mean, he disappeared, like no one could get hold of him. But yeah, I think, look, you know, it's one of those with Grealish at the moment. I think he's behaved badly. He's going to have to deal with the fallout from that. But, you know, yesterday's front line is today's fish and chip paper, is the saying they used to say. And I'm sure in time things will change and there'll be still people that want him now. But I don't think he's done himself any favours. On the other hand, from a United point of view, if you take a moral high ground, somebody won't. And somebody will snip in and get him. And next season it could be brilliant for them. So it swings and roundabouts. You've got to take it into account. It feels like it is swings and roundabouts today in the transfer news around him. Bellingham's interesting. I remember I spoke about this last week. Sport Bild in Germany was saying that Dortmund had won the race for Bellingham. I want us to sign Jude Bellingham, 16 years of age, Birmingham City. I think he'd be a fantastic signing for us. But I saw a similar story in mid-December from German outlets saying that they'd won the race. Dortmund had won the race for Haaland, and we didn't take notice of it because Ollie was dropping hints, and we thought, you know, he's definitely going to come to United, and he did go to Dortmund. And this seems to be progressing in the way that Bellingham goes to Dortmund, and it's been proven right before. So, look, I hope it's not true, but I'm starting to think that maybe the Dortmund and Jude Bellingham story has got something in it. And maybe, as I said last night, maybe as some people have said on social media yesterday, maybe this is a similar scenario with Tielemans and Leicester, where we just don't get involved in the race because we want something from Leicester. And maybe Bellingham, Dortmund, we sort of say, we retract a bit so they get him, and then we get Sancho. These things happen, and you know what? I'd like to get both. I suppose if you're going to choose one or the other, the priority for United is the right wing, and you'd have to go with Sancho because he's the better player at the moment in a position that we're desperate for. It's the way football works, and it might sweeten the deal for Sancho to United if we sort of back off from the Bellingham to Dortmund deal. Sport are reporting that United are in for Lautaro Martinez, who's a 22-year-old striker for Inter Milan. Many of you have mentioned him before. He's a funny one, Martinez, because he's not ridiculously fast. He's not ridiculously lethal. He's not ridiculously strong. He's what I would say is he's very good at a lot of things. I heard somebody describe him as a better Icardi. Well, I'm a big fan of Icardi, and I think Martinez, look, whether he's a better Icardi or not, I'm a big fan of Icardi. I think United, missed the trick a couple of times by not going for him. But maybe when you're talking about personality, it'd be hypocritical for me to say that when you say maybe Grealish would be disruptive, but Icardi wouldn't. He comes with a lot of baggage as well. Martinez, we've got a very good relationship with Inter Milan, and I certainly don't think that it would be impossible for us to do that when you think about the players we've sent the other way, whether it's Lukaku, Ashley Young, obviously Alexis Sanchez is on loan there, although he'll be coming back. Argentinian, 22 years of age, step-up player. He could. What could happen with Martinez? He could do a similar thing to Aguero at Man City. He could come over to the Premier League and be one of the best strikers we've seen for 22 years in the next decade. So I'm not going to dismiss the fact that he's a good player. I've seen United linked to him a few times. I just don't think we're in for him. I don't. I think it's like the Saul Niguez story yesterday. Yeah, we can all talk about it and go, what a great signing he would be. I just do not believe. I'm like 95% sure we're not in for Saul Niguez, and I'm 95% sure we're not in for Martinez. And I like both players. I think they would massively improve us. I just don't think we're looking at that sort of player. And I know we bought Bruno Fernandes, but I do feel that the Bruno Fernandes signing was more pressure. And United were avoiding that deal until they panicked in January and had to do it, and they've been proven right to do it. But I still think United are very focused on British talent, whether it's Sancho at Dortmund or it is the domestic talents of a Maddison or a Grealish or a Declan Rice. I don't think we're looking at Saul Niguez. I don't think we're looking at Martinez. I really don't. But I'd like to be wrong on that. But I just don't feel that we are doing that at this moment in time. I don't know what you lot think. But yeah, look. It's an interesting time. I mean, I just think that day-to-day things do change, and I think some people just are like dismissive, but there's a lot going on in the football world. I know there's a lot going on, and it's not just going on in the media. The things, people messaging you, me emailing you about stuff, there is a lot going on in the world of football because it doesn't sleep. It never sleeps, and nobody wants to sleep. If you're at home sat there doing whatever you're doing, and I'm sat at home doing what I'm doing, these people are all sat at home as well, and especially agents, football clubs, they can't go on holiday. It's not like in the summer where Ed Woodward fancies a couple of weeks in Mauritius or whatever. He can't do that. So everybody is still working. They're not all just sat watching Netflix. So they are all working, and there's a lot more going on than would probably normally be going on what would have been an international break for us at the moment. I mean, it's hard to remember where we would be. We'd be coming towards a Premier League weekend, would be back next weekend. This is international break time. And you would normally get some transfer stuff around that. A lot going on. What I've been told is there's a lot of clubs trying to discuss deals that they've been working on all season, desperately trying to salvage those seasons because of the drop in money and the uncertainty. Because, as I said before, Griezmann was a prime example. That fell through in the summer, but we'd been working on it as a club for about 8 months. It fell through at the very last minute. United were left, up the creek without a paddle, really. So a lot of clubs don't just end the season and start searching FIFA 20 for players that might be useful. They'll have been talking to players for a long time. Arsenal will have done it. Chelsea definitely will have done it. City will have done it. Liverpool will have done it. And United definitely have been doing it. So it's like these decisions have to be made, and a lot of the transfer business in the summer, which is why I say Sancho deal. I think really it comes down to whether the Glazers pull the plug or not, because I think that deal is advanced. Not in the way that we haven't negotiated with Dortmund yet, but we've definitely got something in place with Sancho that he feels he wants to come to the club. The only way this deal falls through is if we don't get a deal done with Dortmund, and that could be a lot to do with our club's appetite to spend money at this point in time. But there's a lot of clubs like that, a lot of clubs who've put work into signing players, and they're now desperately in conversation between clubs saying, "No, come on, I know we were talking around 80 million, but come on, 60 million." But then those clubs, can they take the £20 million hit if what they're looking at? So who they're looking at, they've got to negotiate. So there's loads going on at the moment, a lot of uncertainty, and of course the crisis could get longer. This is on the assumption that football comes back in the summer. If it doesn't come back until the autumn, there may be more drop in value. So very uncertain time, but definitely a lot going on, which is why there is developments around things all the time. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Please subscribe if you're new. Make sure you download the OneFootball app. It's free. It's on Apple and Android. You can follow Man United. You can follow Premier League. You can get all your latest news on there. And remember, for the first time ever, I'll be in the live comments for this. For the first time ever, it's a live show at 1 o'clock. It's the Flex and Rant show at 1 o'clock. I'm going to be in the comments as well, stirring it up. Get into rants about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They don't do it live. They're going to do it live at 1 o'clock today. So see you then. Thanks for watching. Speak to you soon.